Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the International Brotherhood of Magicians podcast. Oh, I'm sorry, official podcast. This is not just a podcast. This is the one for the I.B.M. I'm Jason Michaels, your host with my co-hosts, Ben Young and Scott Cantrell. Fellas, how you doing? What nobody's going to respond?
No,
I say how you doing, and you both just look at me.
we're
What
we're
is
both
going
we're playing Greetings Chicken.
We are playing Greetings Chicken. I was thinking that I would let Ben go first. I guess he was thinking I would go first. And then he did that wave on the camera. And then I thought, well, maybe we should try to do a podcast as a mime and see if we can do a podcast as a mime without speaking. Do a podcast. We should do a silent podcast sometime.
I
That
feel
would be
like this
very
is a
cool.
throwback. This is a throwback to the Michael Dardant interview that we did like a month or two ago, where it's just like, we'll go with the
Whatever.
flow, improv, baby, whatever happens. All right, for the next 45
I'm Ben
minutes.
Young, and it's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm Scott Cantrell, and it's also great to be here.
So our last podcast, Scott, you and I had the opportunity to interview Randy Pitchford, and that was
a lot of fun.
It was really good. It's
really
live.
cool conversation.
It's live now, and it was super fun to have that conversation with him. Ben, did you get a chance to check it out yet?
I have not because you
Oh, I
didn't
see
send
how
to
it
me.
is. So if you're not on the podcast, you're not going to listen to the pod. Is that how this works? It's like, oh, podcast, schmodcast. Like, well, I don't really care. Okay, fine.
We'll edit that out.
No. You can say that. That doesn't mean it's going to be edited out.
You'll really like the podcast, Ben.
Now, Randy was very cool with his time. You know, that guy is so busy, and he gave us a solid hour, and we just discussed.
I love the fact that he was eating breakfast. We did it. You know, we're both in Nashville Central Time. Record at 8 o'clock-ish in the evening.
PM. Yeah.
PM. He's around the world. Was he in Beijing?
Shanghai.
He was in Shanghai having breakfast and doing this podcast. It was pretty cool.
It was cool. It was very cool. And so, yeah, if you're interested, check that. But by all means, go out and check out the podcast. We're on episode 12 or 13 at this point, and we've put up some fun interviews and had some interesting discussions. And we certainly appreciate you listening to these sometimes ramblings on that we put together. But what's interesting is that I had somebody message me the other day online, and they were like, "Hey, I'm really enjoying your podcast." And I'm like, wow, that's just cool. Like, it's like, wow, I can't believe, I enjoy sitting around talking to my friends and jamming on magic theory and stuff like that. But the fact that other people are listening is really cool. So, all right.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that it's resonating with people, because sometimes it feels like we're just sitting here kind of complaining about the magic world, or, coming up with really highbrow ideas. So it's nice that people are enjoying it.
So we should go as low brow as we possibly can.
Let's try that.
We're going to go into the gutter and talk about the lowest possible. We're going to talk about magic sludge. So, yeah.
Well, I won't name names, but
yeah. Hey,
but I have a list, and this book has many pages.
So we are going to get into some topics of discussion here, but before we do, have you guys? I know we've talked about this on the podcast before, but as of when this podcast is released, it's mid-June, and the I.B.M. convention is less than a month away.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm telling you, I was looking at some social media posts, and there were some people talking about just the crazy good lineup that is going to be at the I.B.M. convention this year. I was thinking about it because I have attended a lot of conventions. Scott, you have attended a lot of conventions. Ben, you've been to a bunch of conventions too. And I was thinking about, when you go to a convention, in what some of the fun part is the discovery. Like, for instance, you might see multiple magicians, and they may all be excellent magicians. Occasionally, you see a magician who is so different or surprising, or there's something so just out of the ordinary, something you may not be expecting, that it like creates this highlight moment for you. Like, for instance, Rob Zabrecki is going to be at the I.B.M. Convention. I've seen Rob Zabrecki like maybe two or three times, and and it's one of those situations where he comes out on stage and he's got this incredible presence, and he's just this extremely well defined performer on stage, and it's just so literally so fun because you don't know like what is the crazy next thing that he's going to say. Well, and so he's funny and he's odd and he's all these different things. And so when you get to experience a performer like that, it kind of is like, you never forget these different performers, because as wonderful as there as many wonderful magicians that there are out there, um, it's not every day that you stumble upon somebody who just makes you go, "Oh my God, that was amazing." So,
Yeah.
um, so we've got Rob Zabrecki's going to be there. I think they're
By the way, as of this recording, the day we're recording, yesterday was Rob Zabrecki's birthday.
oh, is it?
So
Oh,
happy
well,
birthday, Rob.
happy birthday, Rob
Happy
Zabrecki.
birthday, indeed.
Yeah.
How do you know that?
He's my friend on Facebook because I hang out with people.
Okay.
No,
Well, I
here's
think
so here's another note for related to the convention for Houston. Um, I won't get into all the details, but we're putting together a giveaway for all of the convention attendees. And so we're asking this incredibly stellar lineup of performers to contribute something into this giveaway package, whether it's an essay or a trick or a download or whatever it is. And we have some incredible stuff from people who have already given stuff. And Rob was kind enough to basically give me an hour of his time. And
wow.
we did an interview with Rob. And it was an my opinion, you can ask Rob about his experience, but my experience was off the charts. It was unbelievable. He was incredibly generous, not only with his time, but with his thoughts and his expertise and his how he thinks and his creative process is really tremendous. So all of those downloads and videos, Rob's interview, are all going into a package. And it's only available for registrants and attendees of the IBM convention coming up in July. So yet another reason to be there with us in Houston.
So I can't get it any other way. I can't give you like a
I don't think
dollar.
so.
No,
No,
I have
nope.
to be. I have
You're
to
not going to
attend.
throw your Venmo in the description and people can just.
The show notes.
There is a price, but what I'll do is I'll just take the convention registration amount out of that amount and give it to the IBM in that
There you
way.
go.
Yeah.
There you go. Nice, nice. Yeah, that I know you're the one who's compiling that, and yeah,
Yeah.
dude, you've told me some of the folks who are
Yeah.
contributing to
It's
it. It's
unbelievable.
it's a
Everybody
it's a
thinks,
banger, man. It's like for real. It's a serious, like
yeah,
really
it's
cool
yeah, and
add-on.
the content is unbelievable. I mean, this is that interview could be part of a master class from Vanishing Ink. I mean,
Yeah,
the tricks that we have are downloads that probably are could be sold for 10, 20, 30, $40. I mean, you put it all together and it's incredible. It's an incredible value. And that speaks to the stellar lineup we have this year, but it also speaks to the quality of the people who are that stellar lineup this year, their willingness to contribute and to support the cause and to share their knowledge and their expertise freely in that way. We're not paying them more to do that.
right.
We kindly asked them, and they said yes and responded in
That's cool.
force. And so now the attendees of the convention get the benefit of it. It's tremendous.
That's very cool. And you know what? Looking at the lineup, I really do believe that there are going to be some people there, some of the performers and lecturers that some attendees will be unfamiliar with, that are going to be an incredible surprise. Like for instance, I don't know how many people know who Babel is.
Yeah.
He's this legendary street performer from France, and the people who know who Babel is are like, you guys got Babel? Are you serious? Like, it's like not a small thing. Like, it's a big deal to get a performer like this to come all the way from Europe to come to Houston, where the IBM convention is being held July 9th through 12th. And he's going to be there. And he's going to be, I mean, and the one thing I know about, I've seen Babel at 4F before, and he's the type of guy who's just kind of sitting around with a deck of cards, always ready to jam, always ready to like show you something that's going to make your head explode. And so I think if you look at the website, which is ibmconvention.com, and you go and you start looking at the talent and you go, well, I don't know who Gaia Rossi is. Well, that doesn't, I mean, that just means that our talent coordinator, Benjamin Barnes, is so plugged in. He's getting people that you need to know who they are. So, um, yep. Just one last mention about the IBM convention, because I do think it's going to be just an absolute blast. And knowing the venue and what it's going to be like, I'm very excited to be there. So,
Yep.
all right, what's up? What's up with you fellas? Ben, what's going on? What you been doing?
Well, I've been working on something new that I won't talk about yet, but I've got as of this
That's
recording, I'm
quite a
going.
plug. It's like I've got something new,
I
and
got something I'm working on,
I'm not going
and
to tell
it's
you
not for
about it.
anyone else to hear. I'm only thinking about it because it's literally I've got it on the floor over here, like the arts and crafts is going on. So,
Hmm.
and then as of this recording, I'm leaving in a couple of days to go on a tour performing for some fine folks. I don't know if you know anything about that, Jason.
Heard about
Um,
it.
heard about it, and so that's going to be really great. And yeah, that's about it for right now.
You know what? Let's dive into that for a second. That is not what I was planning on talking about,
I was being a little cagey about it, I know.
but you know what? I think that is actually a good conversation for us just to have this conversation. Because Scott, you've gone with me on multiple tours. Ben, you've gone with me on multiple tours. Ben and I, and then we have somebody else going, Mark Brown from Nashville. We are headed out to do a tour for the military overseas, where the whole goal is that we go and we entertain deployed soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines in on military bases overseas. They're away from their family. They are in many times in active war zones, and they every day the thing we constantly hear from them is that every single day they are basically it's like Groundhog Day. Monday is the same as Tuesday, is the same as Wednesday, and so there are groups like the USO and different groups that send entertainment and different types of it's not always entertainment, but it is certainly entertainment and different types of programming, with the goal being to keep morale high and then to share a sense of home with these folks. And so it's something I've been doing now for about a decade. I started in 2015. Stephen Bargatze and I did the first tour together, and and Stephen has been on many of these as well. But what were you? What have y'all? Do you guys have any like I don't know, highlights or special moments that you can think of? Scott, you went with me to well, you've gone to the Middle East, but you also
Yep.
went with me to Japan. Do you
Guam.
have any moments where you're like, whether it's a performing moment or whether it was just, hey, we're in this place that, how in the world did we get here? That type of thing.
I mean, there's lots of really cool memories. Meeting the folks after the show is one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
Also, the people that we get to, we have our guides, the people who, we have our handlers, Jason, right?
Yeah. Our point of contact.
Point of contact, our POC, as they would use acronym. No, but those folks are tremendous. Like, you build really strong relationships with them. Um, Amazing stories. Meeting everyone after the show is almost always a meet and greet, and that's incredibly. It's such a cool thing. They're coming up. They're wanting to say hello. They're wanting to say great show. They're wanting autograph or whatever. And it's like, why are you? Can I have your autograph? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you're the one who's here. And so it really is a special thing. The other amazing experience is to be able to see things that a civilian, unless they're a contractor or something, that a civilian's never going to see,
Yeah.
in terms of having access to the bases, having access to those people and the equipment, and seeing things that we sometimes can't even talk about, much less take photos of or anything like that. Some of those experiences they're pretty surreal. To be a civilian in that place, and to be able to, you know, say hello and thank and be amongst those people who are serving in those places, is pretty tremendous. And then the whole experience of, jumping around from country to country. I remember, one of the wildest travel experiences I've ever had was when we went, Jason, from Japan to Guam to Alaska. And
Oh yeah.
specifically the flight from Guam to Alaska, going from, 88 tropical, beautiful weather, connecting in Hawaii in the middle of the night.
I know, right? It's like, what? We have to fly
I,
where to get
I feel
where?
it's stopping in Honolulu for 30 minutes and then going on to Alaska and landing basically in negative 30-degree weather. All happens in about whatever it is, 16 hours or something. So
Yeah.
yeah, just incredible experiences. I'm appreciative of you, Jason, of the invite to go, but the experiences are just tremendous. And yeah, it's a really special thing, and to be able to go and share some, to do what we do, for people who are just normal people, right? At the end of the day,
Right.
I mean, they're doing incredible work and they have incredible responsibilities, but they love magic just like we all do,
Right. Right.
and they love to hang out. And like you said, Jason, it is a taste of home. But yeah, the way they treat us, it's like, gosh, I only hope that we're treating them half as good as they treat us.
Yeah, it's true. I often one of the things I've been really appreciative of that I never would have guessed is that occasionally, and it doesn't happen all the time, but occasionally we get to do a commander's call where we meet with the commander
Right.
of the base, and the commander explains to us why we're in this place and what our mission is. And I think that there are a lot of people, no, I don't know if a lot of people, there are some people that may not understand, like, sometimes when the general public says, well, why are we all in all these different places spending all this money? But when you are able to sit down with the commander of the base and the commander says, well, the function, our function here is to do these things, and you understand that we create stability in parts of the world that would be in mass chaos without us, just our presence there, we don't have to do anything other than just simply be
Be
there.
there.
Um it's pretty amazing to learn, and in different parts of the world there are different, different bases do have different functions. And so I find that I found that very eye-opening. Obviously I enjoy doing the shows, but certainly meeting the people is always a blast. Ben, do you have any, I know you probably have many highlights, you want to outline one or two of them for us?
Well, as usual, when Scott talks first, he takes all my bullet points. But just speaking about seeing the different functions of the bases, a lot of them are working in collaboration with the local community as well, and with their local military as well. And so it's very cool seeing that too. Ultimately, they're some of the most appreciative audiences you'll ever get. They're just because we're oftentimes in such isolated places, to have anything is just so exciting. And like you said, to break up the Groundhog Day and just have something, it's a lot of fun to have people that are actually happy to be there, happy to see magic, and have a good time, and to be able to thank them and get a peek under the hood of some other things is pretty cool. And we've had some cool experiences that we can talk about. I mean, getting to see like the canine units and get tackled by the canines,
Yeah.
and to drive Humvees every now and then, and things like that is really cool. I mean, some highlights are flying in Black Hawk helicopters, which is
You
not
don't
the
get to do
norm.
that every day.
Not the norm. You never expect that. You just show up one day and they go, okay, so here's how we're getting to the next place. Here's your ride for today. And you're like, okay, let's pack up the card tricks and let's go. So
True.
there's been so many cool. Oh, and another thing too is because people get moved around so much. Jason, I know you've seen this where we'll bump into people on different parts of the globe that are like, oh, we saw you at whatever base in this other
Yep.
country a few years ago.
That's amazing.
Yep.
And so that's really cool too, to have people that they kind of recognize you.
I had that crazy experience where I was at House of Cards one night and a guy walks up to me and goes, hey, were you in an airport in the middle of Iraq about this time last year? And I was like,
Yes.
yeah, actually, how do you? And then I kind of looked and I was like, wait a minute. He's like, I was one of the guys that you came over and sat down and did card tricks for. And I was like, oh my gosh. And he said, the reason we're here is because you told us about House of Cards. And we were in the area and we wanted to come by and check it out. And I mean, that made my week, man. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. I get to meet somebody who it meant so, and that's I guess that is the point. It meant so much to them at the time, just sharing a moment of levity, some laughs, something amazing, this unique experience that they're not expecting to have because you're very much in their world. Sometimes we do strolling magic in the dining facility when they're just there to eat, and you just walk up and do some magic for them, and the smiles on their faces and whatnot are so fulfilling. But the experience was so profound and so enjoyable that this guy was like, "Yeah, we're in Nashville and we wanted to come see. We wanted to come see House of Cards, and we were hoping you would be here." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Yeah, that is tremendous.
Yeah.
All right,
And
well, let's
I
get
know
into
this episode's gonna come out when we're on the tour, I think. Right?
we'll be in the middle of it. We'll be gone for about half the time we're planning on being gone, still have half of the tour left. So yeah.
So for people that are listening, go ahead and find Jason and I on Instagram. I don't know about Jason, but I'm going to try to document a lot of the trip as much as I can. So if you
Let
want
me
to see
see
some cool
pictures you're
behind
not
the scenes
allowed to
stuff.
take, Ben.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know.
What's
But
your
no one
Instagram
has to know.
handle, Ben? What's your Instagram handle?
It is at Ben Young Live. Look for
Yep.
a picture of me.
And mine is at Jason Michaels Magic. Hey Scott, what's yours? Nobody's gonna want to see yours because you're not going, but what's yours
I
too?
would no. I'm gonna take pictures. I'm gonna go on your Instagram and do screenshots, and then I'm gonna repost those on my Instagram so you guys can find me. I don't know what my Instagram is. Am I on Instagram? I guess.
You know what? They can get on your Instagram and scroll back and see past tours. You'd be like, hey, just keep scrolling, scroll back. And no, there you go. There's
Send Scott a fax and he'll
send me a
fax you some photos from our Instagrams that he printed out.
Exactly. All right, let's get into today's discussion topic. I made a
wait. Oh,
okay.
Scott Cantrell BLS, which is a horrible at. I'm gonna have to do a new account thing. But yeah,
this
Scott
is your
Cantrell.
Instagram handle?
Yeah, it is. I don't know why.
We go through this every episode.
I know, but now it's a thing. At Scott Cantrell BLS. And then you can see whatever post was last.
All right. So here's the topic, and we can go in a couple different directions.
Not social media, is it?
Yeah, we're not talking about. All right. Today's topic is, what do you do when the audience doesn't respond to your magic? Now, you would think to yourself, well, that's not a thing, but it is very much a thing, and I think between the three of us, we have all performed a lot, and we've been in front of a lot of audiences, both standing on a stage somewhere, as well as performing up close and personal magic. Now, I will say this: I think that it happens a little bit more frequently for me when I'm performing close up, where you do some really strong piece of magic, and the audience just sits there and just looks at you, like that. It's like, and you're looking at them and they're looking at you and you're thinking to yourself, I know that trick was good. That trick, I've done this before and it gets huge responses. And yet you people are looking at me like nothing. So, the flaw with magic is, I think, is that the audience can't really tell if what you're doing requires skill or not. And they aren't always, and also just the experience itself is such a different experience that many times I don't think people even know how to respond. Now, some people are effusive and they just explode with, response like, oh my gosh, that's unbelievable. But there are some people who are just sitting there and they literally don't know how to respond. And of course, if you, I think that when somebody knows something, it takes a great deal of skill. Like, for instance, jugglers, they literally, their job is to show off their skill. So you can applaud skill. If you see like a manipulation act on stage where cards or playing cards or billiard balls or whatever things are disappearing, reappearing, uh, multiplying, and all this different. Even if you don't know how it's done, you're saying to yourself in your head, "This person has great skill." And I think it's very easy to applaud great skill. But if your magic is designed to hide skill, which is kind of what a lot of, especially since Divernon taught to hide as much of your skill as possible. And if you are trying to hide that skill so that it just the only thing that happens is that there's a setup and then there's this boom moment of magic where their head explodes. What how are they supposed to respond? So what do you guys think about this?
Well, first of all, I want to give some homework for the audience. The comedian Pete Holmes has a great routine. He did, I think it was on like Conan or one of the other late night shows that you can find it about magic and how people respond to magic. And he talks about how there's no natural way to respond. Like with comedy, you
Right.
laugh, you can't help it. But with magic, what do you do? And he talks about that. So, and it's a clean, it's a clean routine. There's no bad language in it. So people should go check out Pete Holmes, look up Pete Holmes magic, and I'm sure you'll find
That
it.
is a very, very
It's
funny
very fun.
routine.
It's
Yeah.
so good. And side note, when I was in advanced public speaking in college, we had to do a comedy speech, which they just made us memorize a stand-up routine, and I chose that. So I did the whole thing. I had it all memorized word for word at one point.
Nice.
But
which is funny because stand up is all about copying other materials. Because when I think of stand up comedy, I think of copy other people's jokes. That's it.
hey, look, I was just going for an A. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm sure Pete would be proud. So I think something that you said, Jason, kind of on accident, really points to like what to do.
I don't
Most
get
of what
credit. I don't
Jason
get
said.
credit for this.
Oh,
No,
most
you
of what
don't
Jason
get
says
credit.
is
You
on
don't get
accident.
credit.
You said it in passing, but you said, well, I know this trick and I know that it usually gets really big responses.
Yeah.
And that for me is something that goes a long way. When you have put in the time and you've performed, whether it's a show or whether it's a trick, when you've performed it for enough people, you have the evidence now that this trick does well. And and people like it, and people, if you're on stage, people applaud, people laugh at this joke. You could apply it to comedy too, it doesn't matter. But when you have those experiences where people don't react in the way you're used to, you're able to have the confidence in yourself to go, you're the exception. This is not, I don't need to feel bad. I know I didn't flash. I know I didn't screw up. I know how this goes. And it's not a hard feeling necessarily against them. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just reacting differently. And you know that this just it's not enough to kind of break you down. I think that's a big thing to keep in mind. So you have to get in the flight time of whatever you're doing to know how it goes. So you
Yeah.
said that by
So-
accident, but it was a good point, Jason.
So before I let you jump in, Scott, are you saying that there are some audiences that are not good audiences for magic as far as their response? Maybe they enjoy it, but they don't give us the feedback that we need.
Short answer is yes. Long answer is with what I was saying, it's not necessarily whether they're a good audience or bad audience, but people respond to things differently. And like we just talked about, people don't always know how to respond. How do you respond to something like this? This isn't something that you see on a day-to-day basis.
That's right.
And people that are seeing it on a day-to-day basis are seeing it on TikTok where they don't have to respond at all. They can just sit there and keep
Oh,
scrolling.
that's interesting. Yeah.
Great.
So people don't know how to respond, but I think that just as like a base level thing for people that are experiencing this and maybe it's kind of taking a hit on their ego, just relax and go, right, these are the exceptions to the rule. Like you know that this does well, so you can kind of be confident, and then maybe you're going to be less likely to say one of the really bad one-liners or make the audience feel bad or whatever like that. You can kind of just take it in stride and go, okay, this is just one of those days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what does it mean then if what does it mean if all of my audiences are the
All of them, none of them ever respond to you.
is it You know what? It's all. Is there a lesson there, or is it? It's just them, right? It's just them.
Well, Scott,
Obviously.
Scott,
Yeah.
mentalism is hard. Okay. I know you wanted to do a 75-minute propless mentalism show, but dude, throw
Listen,
something else in there.
3 pencils, 3 index cards. I do I do 55 minutes of straight mentalism, and then it's juggling for 20 minutes. And
That would
You
be the
gotta end
weird. That would be
strong.
the weirdest
You
show.
gotta end
Like,
strong.
why is this guy juggling all of a sudden? Yeah.
I like
And
the
the
juggling. What
and the
was all the
first half
talking he just did?
Right. Right.
the first half of the show was it's all psychological too, right? It doesn't always hit either. It's like a
Yeah,
two
that's
out of
right.
three.
It's
Yeah.
all guesses.
Terrible.
Um, I think this is a great question, Ben. I think you had great answers. I'm glad you went first this time because you took all my bullet points.
Yeah,
Um,
there's more points to be made.
there are more small points. No, I think it's good though. Your point about flight time and confidence, I think, is important on the magician side of things. I completely agree that audiences are different, right? I actually wrote it. I have an early set of lecture notes back when I was much younger. I talk about audience dynamics a little bit, and I talk about reserved audiences and enthusiastic audiences and so forth. And any magician's performed any reasonable amount of time understands what I'm talking about, right? And sometimes it's the venue, it's the nature of what's happening at the venue. Like at House of Cards, people are eating and they're drinking and they're there for magic. So the nature of that audience in the showroom uh, is one thing. The nature of that same audience in the close-up areas is something else. A corporate event is something else. A school show is something else, right? So there's somebody who's being brought to a public show and doesn't want to go creates a dynamic in the audience. So there's all these different kinds of.
Hold that thought. You just reminded me. I did a show about 2.5 weeks ago, and
Congratulations.
Larry opened the show. Larry Courtwright opens the show, and he's doing his shtick, and he's talking, and he does the first or second trick or
Yeah.
whatever, and he turns to the one guy, says, "What? You didn't respond. Are you not going to respond?" And he goes, "Nope, probably not." And he was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And he's like, "I didn't even want to be here tonight." I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is how the show's starting."
I mean that's a great example, right? That happens. It happens even at I don't know if it happens as much at the castle or House of Cards, but I'm sure it happens, right? Just inevitable that it's going to happen that people have had a bad day and they don't want to go or they never wanted to go. And it was anyway. The point is, there's all kinds of different audiences. And so you can have the most tried and true effect that you've got down cold. And 99% of the time, or whatever the percentage is, it's going to work. And the audience, more or less, is going to react exactly the same. And then that 1% of the time, they're going to react differently, whatever that means, right? Sometimes it could be over the top, and the other times it could be the other way. So, what do you do when someone doesn't respond? Um, I pulled this up when you asked this question, Jason. I saw this on Facebook. Nick Lewin, right? Incredible
Great
performer who
comedy
lives in
magician.
Texas now, comedy magician, one of the best, in my opinion, ever. He had this quote on Facebook, and I don't think he'll mind me sharing it. He says, "There's two kinds of magic: the kind that makes people clap, and the kind that makes them whisper." And I was like, "Whoa." Whoa, there's a lot to unpack there. And it's not exactly on the same point, but it's definitely related to what we're talking about here, right? Different kinds of magic creates different kinds of reactions from the audience, but the audience themselves will react differently. So, especially in a close-up situation like you were talking about, if it's family and they all know one another, if they're a really outgoing, extroverted family, they're probably going to react in that way. On the flip side, if they're an introverted, quiet family, then they may react very differently to the same piece of magic, right? They may whisper as opposed to clap. And again, that's not exactly what Nick's point was in that quote, but because his point is from the point of view of the kind of magic that you're doing and what reactions you get. But the audience gets to determine the reaction. And so I think it is important to remember what Ben said. Don't, as a magician, don't take it personally. I want to go back to the specific question, the literal question. What do you do when someone doesn't respond? I like Larry's approach of just
Just
asking the
call them out.
question.
It's like, what's wrong with
Are you
you?
not going to clap or laugh? And I've said those kinds of things before, always tongue in cheek and fun because it fits my character. Um, sometimes the best thing you can do in moments like that, if and usually as a magician, we can tell if there was impact or not, right? Is it a
Yeah.
truly blank stare where they just didn't get it at all and they just didn't understand, like they don't get it? Or is it a quiet whisper, impactful moment? Right. And what I have learned, and it may or may not work for every magician, but I would encourage more magicians to do this, is to let the moment linger when you have an impact that's really strong and a quiet audience. I think the one of the worst things you can do is talk too soon. I think being quiet and let the moment linger, whatever that means in the context of your show, right? It's got to be congruent, but letting those moments linger where there is meaningful impact or where there's not a reaction can sometimes be very, very strong. Um, and again, that's making the assumption that the magic hit. If the magic just
Mhm.
didn't hit and you've got a blank audience,
Right.
then I think for me, I'm going to bail out with comedy. Um, I'm
Okay.
I'm gonna bail out with a line or a look or just walk away from the table or something that's obviously, hopefully, obviously
Just
comedic.
slowly back
Yeah,
up.
just slowly
I mean,
back up,
for the,
like Homer
for this
Simpson. Yeah,
for the sake of the discussion, I mean, Jason, was your intention for us to assume that these are audiences that are enjoying the magic, they're just not responding in the way that we're used to?
Yeah. I
Or
think,
are
well,
we
no,
also talking about
I mean, the point is, I have performed for the majority of audiences respond. But the more that you perform, if you perform a lot and you're in front of a lot of audiences, little by little, you're going to get more and more strange responses. And I also think that in today's world, the audiences are more informed when it
yeah,
comes to magic than they've ever been before.
yeah,
And the magic that may have been quite amazing and very fooling, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago, may not be as fooling and as amazing nowadays. So there are, I think we even have to take into consideration the times when we do a trick that used to kill for us, and then the audience just kind of like, I feel like I've seen that on TikTok, and they're just kind of like, eh.
yeah.
Okay, well, okay. Does that answer your question, Ben?
yeah, yeah, I mean, it's just worth noting, right? If we're talking about if it's the people that were forced to come to the show that
Right.
maybe don't want to be there, that's kind of a different situation than just getting
Yeah.
the audience that I think a lot of us have experienced, where after they don't applaud or laugh a lot throughout the show. They're quiet, and then at the end of the show, everyone's coming up and saying, "Thank you so much. That was such a great show." And you're like,
Yeah.
where were you before? Are you
Yeah.
sure? Was it the same show? Right? Where we're suffering the whole time, but apparently they're enjoying it.
Yeah.
So if that's the kind of show we're talking about, then that kind of helps shape the
And
conversation
that's an interesting point because that has happened to plenty of us where we do a
all the time.
show and I mean even goes back to the days that when I was in college and I was acting and performing a lot in both collegiate theater as well as community theater. And occasionally you would just have an audience that just wouldn't respond the way that you're used to them responding, and then afterwards they come and go, "Oh, that was just so fantastic, that was the best thing I've ever seen," and you're just thinking to yourself, well, that is so strange because I thought that you all hated what I was doing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And that is, another, I think that performers have to have a massive amount of confidence. In fact, you almost have to have an overinflated sense of confidence, like almost like a little too much ego, because a little too much ego can kind of protect you when you're up in front of an audience that is apathetic, or at least you think they're apathetic. Maybe they're having a blast, but you're basically having to believe in yourself because you're not getting you're not getting the feedback that you know you should be getting.
And it's a fine line. If you are trying to blow it off with comedy and tell them like, why are you not reacting? Or we can do this two ways, right? You can
Right.
clap or we can do it the way we're doing it now, right?
Yeah.
How do you toe that line without seeming like it's actually insecurity and that you need that applause to feel good about yourself? And I think that but we also know that if you can get them to clap, they're going to feel like it's a better experience anyways, right? That kind of thing. So it's a tough thing. And I feel like for me, and Jason, you've seen me perform over the course of like the past decade, and I've changed a lot, I think.
Yeah.
I think as time has gone on, I've leaned more into just being quietly confident with the material because some of the comedy is a little quirky and it's a little whimsical and it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I don't really think I ever say those lines if someone doesn't respond. I kind of just stand my ground now and I just keep
Yeah.
trucking through because I know it's funny and you guys are the exception. And
Let
yeah.
okay. I love that because I think that okay, as a performer, as the person standing in front of the audience, you are the leader of the experience. You have to have a stronger frame than whatever the audience is giving you. If the audience is giving you very little feedback and you crumble, then what does that say to the audience? But if you stand in front of that audience fully confident and knowing, and if you don't have a ton of flight time, maybe you just have to fake it until you do have a ton of flight time and you do have a ton of performances underneath your belt. But I think that's one of those advanced performing things that you really only learn by doing. You really only learn by standing up in front of audiences, where it's like, okay, I have to present that I am that I am stronger as a performer than what the audience is giving me as an audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I give you
And
guys
we said we were gonna do Magic Sludge today.
yeah, yeah.
Look at
Oh,
this. This is
we
Look,
pretty
diving
look
high
where
into
it got
ground.
us.
What about I have one more quick comment related to this, and then Jason, you can go.
yeah,
But
go ahead.
I love, and you guys have both seen me perform. Jason probably seen me more than Ben has, but and it doesn't happen every show, but I will sometimes construct or craft, usually in smaller venues, smaller audiences. Easier to do in close up, but I'll still do it with a parlor size show. And I love these awkward moments, right? Creating the awkward moment or letting the awkward moment breathe or, having that awkward silence. Nick Default comes to mind in terms of a master of being able to do that in just about any environment and do it successfully. And of course, so much of his act is built around this character that he's developed that does live in that world to some extent, and he plays to it, and he's choreographed and structured a brilliant set. Um, but what about that, right? Where you're maybe purposely trying to get the audience to not respond to something, to be quieter, to create that awkwardness, right? That's kind of the opposite of what we're discussing. But I think there's a place there because I know a lot of magicians, and I was this way when I was first starting, or first starting flight time wise, of I didn't want that to exist at all, right? I wanted to be tight, and I wanted either the audience on the edge of their seat laughing or clapping, one of those three things. And if it's not one of those three things, what can I do to fix the show? And those are
Hmm.
reasonable questions to ask.
Yeah.
But at some point, I, and part of it's character driven, but at some point I got into this place where it was like, no, I enjoy creating these unique moments in the audience and in the show because it makes it real, and it makes it feel more authentic to the audience to create those moments, even though they may happen in virtually every show. Anyway,
Mhm.
just a thought. I don't know if there's any
You know,
comment.
you made me think based on some of the things you were saying, like some of the stuff that we do that's very quirky, that is just like so specific to you as a performer. It's almost like the Steve Martin effect, where
Right.
Steve Martin believed in what he was saying, and you as an audience, you had to choose whether or not you wanted to go along with
That's
it.
a great example. Yeah.
Yeah, the anticlimax
Right.
is what
Right.
what he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he would just keep going and it would be it'd be 2 jokes later where people are like, "Oh yeah, that was funny," and they're like, they have to catch up.
Yeah.
So good.
I have a guilty I have an admission of guilt. I was performing
Jason, we might need to turn the recording off for this part.
I did something that I have always said never to do, and I've always looked down with disdain on performers who do this,
Oh,
and
I
I
can't
did
wait.
it. I was performing for a couple of people, and they were just kind of not responding. So I went to my signature trick, and my signature trick is like a three-phase piece. And the first phase, they just kind of didn't respond. And at this point, I'm starting to get ticked. I'm just like, this is ridiculous. I know this magic is good. These people are being jerks. So the second phase, I'm gonna say what the technique is I'm going to use a little bit of code for magicians who know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
The second phase, I use the face up force. So it's extremely deceptive. Even if you know what's happening, it's still extremely deceptive. So I hit it, and that sets up the third phase, which is almost like a kicker ending. So when I reveal the second phase, it hit so hard that they just like kind of like were taken aback. And then the third phase, the kicker phase, I turned over the other card and then it hit again, and they looked stunned, and I looked at them with total disdain, like, you pieces of crap have given me nothing this entire time, and I have to hit you in the face with a 2x4 for you to give me anything. I looked at them like they were absolute garbage. And I always think to myself, oh, performers who look down on their audience are such jerks. They find themselves, I always think, because there are performers, there are magicians who feel uh what's the word I'm looking for? Who feel smarter than the audience.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I know how to do this and you don't. There are performers out there. And I've always been like, that is the exact reason not to be a performer. Don't ever do that. And then I got a total crap audience after, I don't remember what set it up, but it must have been multiple things that day that didn't go well because I was in a mood, and I just absolutely looked at them and I thought, I am so much superior than you people.
Well, and I just want you to know that Holly and I still enjoyed that set, Jason. I mean, I think maybe just because we'd seen so much magic, but
Yeah,
you're
I
right. We should have
appreciate you.
reacted more. I'm sorry.
It's all right, Scott. I love you anyway. So, along this same line of discussion, what do you think? I mean, this is kind of a tough question to ask because it's going to depend on, it's a person to person type of answer. But what do you think the public's expectation is of what a magician does? Nowadays we have America's Got Talent, we have Penn and Teller Fool
True.
Us, we
That's
have
true.
TikTok, we have all the different places where you can see magic. In the past, I think a lot of people thought magic was their crazy Uncle Eddie, or a birthday party magician, which all of that is perfectly fine. But now, and then David Blaine became popular, and people started to think, oh, are you kind of like David Blaine? Are you like Chris Angel? There people have different. What do you think the public's expectation is?
This is a great question.
You're throwing this in at this point of the episode.
This is a cliffhanger for the next episode.
Well, I mean, part of it depends on the type of performance you're doing, and it depends on who the audience is, where
The
you are. I mean,
venue,
so
right?
this is a very
Yeah.
difficult question to answer, and you could probably go off on a tangent and spend 20 minutes answering the question. But I think that based on the media and what is out in the world today, the people
Yeah.
have a different expectation of what magic is. Honestly, I think a lot of people think magic is close-up magicians.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And
Mhm.
I think you're right. I think not even that long ago, obviously pre-internet, but maybe even as recent as 10 or 15 years ago, maybe a little longer, but probably around then. I think the stereotype of magic was still top hats and tuxedos and rabbits. Now, David Blaine helped a lot in the early 2000s, right, to break that mold. Certainly
Yep.
Copperfield and others have done, a lot of lifting on that front too. But there's only
Yep.
one David Copperfield, and he's on stage and he's on TV. David Blaine was out and in the streets, right? And
Right.
with
Right.
people and looked like a normal dude, right?
Right.
And so I think the stereotype started to change then, but certainly with smartphones and with content creation and YouTube and now TikTok and whatever this Instagram thing is, I guess. There's tons of stuff now. I agree with you, Jason. I think that the average person, that stereotypical thought of a magician would be a close-up style magician doing some kind of cards, coins, things like that in a street setting or in a casual setting. I don't know that that's true, but it feels like that's probably the
Well, you
stereotype.
also have a whole lot of people that are doing close-up magic and their videos are going viral. I mean, look
Yeah,
at like who makes me think of Eric Jones. Eric Jones did
Yeah.
AGT and he killed it. And then all of a sudden, I'm a friend of his online, and so I see all of a sudden he's doing halftime at an NBA
right.
arena, and he's still doing the exact same stuff. And this is not a condemnation in any way, shape, or form, but he's doing coin sleight of hand, and he's doing it for this arena. And then he goes and he does, whatever, he goes and he does that theater in Pittsburgh,
Right.
Liberty Magic,
Yeah.
and so, and he's posting all this stuff online, and people are fans, and and I think that the more people see these folks who, Matt Franco's a stage performer, but he's doing a whole lot of
Close up.
interactive close-up magic. And I see the more people see this stuff online, which in my opinion, um, close-up magic plays better on
Video.
like a on a like a your phone, like a video from some social media outlet, than stage magic does. So except for Ben, because Ben's got
Yeah.
5 million hits because of doing the pom poms. Do you know?
4.5.
Ben has gone viral. I mean, I should let you talk, Ben, about what you wanted to say, but Ben's gone viral recently doing the pom pom trick on
Yeah,
TikTok.
go give my Instagram and some TikTok some love. Go watch the videos. One of them, I will admit, kind of loops. So just go ahead, watch it about 6 times before you realize that. Um, no, I think you guys are right. I think that people are seeing close-up magic more than they're seeing stage magic. And even on Fool Us, where you have people that are doing some things that are a little more stand-up, a lot of it is still kind of on the smaller scale. Um, and so whether it's what people are expecting or whether it's just become more mainstream, I mean, I feel like there's more clients that are reaching out with the intent of having a strolling magician than
Yes,
there used to be. You don't
yes,
have to do the education anymore
That's
of
true.
what
They
it
know what it
means to do
is.
that. They
Yeah.
know that it's a thing.
yep,
And so there's certainly that. But I think that just overall, I think that because of, probably because of content, um, people see magic a lot more. The people that like magic get to see it a lot more because the algorithm figures that out. And I think people are just more receptive to it overall, whether it's
yep.
close up or otherwise. Um, I mean, I noticed, over the past year that when I'm doing a strolling event, I walk up and I say, I'm the magician. Like people they're excited. Like they know
Yep,
that there's a
yep,
magician. They understand the deal. They know how it's gonna go. So I
yep.
think there's just an accessibility now where people are more open to it.
So to wrap it up, what about buyers? You're talking about buyers and people understand that it's a thing. I always, I remember, I remember talking to somebody a couple of years back, and they were like, "Yeah, we want an illusionist," and I was like, "Oh, you want an illusionist?" Now you have to understand, if you're a magician of a certain age, when somebody says they want an illusionist, that means they literally want you to be bring big, giant props, make people appear or disappear, cut people in half. That's what I'm. And then the next thing this woman said, she's like, "Yeah, so if you can do like some card tricks or some coin tricks," I'm like, "An illusionist? What?" And so I was like, hold on a second. I want to make sure, like, I had to like get clarity. I was like, I just need to make sure I understand what you're asking for, because there's a price difference. There's it also doesn't sound like for a group of 12 people that you need an illusionist. I'm not sure that's what you need. But yeah, no,
I think buyers are more educated as it relates to close-up magic. I don't know in my own experience, and you all may have different ones. I don't know that I think there there has been more of a demand for magic in recent years.
yeah,
Certainly the, pandemic did its thing, but putting that aside, I think there has been a demand, more demand for magic as a rule. I think that speaks to content and people seeing that there are magicians out there who aren't just top hats and tuxedos. And by the way, if you perform in a top hat and tuxedo, so does Lance Burton. You're in good company. I don't mean to put
sure.
that down in any way. It's magic still has to be good, but the stereotype has changed, the look, the style, and so forth.
Yep.
So I do think there's more demand. I think there's a higher demand for close-up magic, in part because there's just more opportunity for it, right? There's
And you know what?
more.
More people practice close-up magic than
Well,
stage
that's
magic.
right, and there's more venues for it. If you just think about the nature of events, sometimes it's not going to be feasible time-wise or space-wise, logistics-wise, to have a performer on stage do something, whereas anybody can walk around to tables and do close-up and street style magic. So that's
Yep.
my take on it. I don't know that buyers have become more educated or knowledgeable on the stage or parlor side of things. I think
Yeah.
oftentimes they still have, um, you know, a view of magicians who are doing stage performance in a,
I think a lot
certain,
of
they look
buyers
into
are
a certain filter.
yeah, I think a lot of buyers are looking for an outcome. It's like
That's right. That's right.
it's like, look, we have these people here for 45 minutes and we need them to have fun.
That's right.
And so they're thinking to themselves, magician, they could, you know, hypnotist, whatever. It doesn't
Right.
matter. We're looking for a specific outcome. And if you can provide that outcome, then we will talk to you.
Yeah.
So, all right, gentlemen, final thoughts, anything you want to share?
I'll go first. You guys
Okay.
can go second. I will just say Godspeed on your tour,
Thank
coming
you.
gentlemen. I will look forward to following you on I'll look forward to seeing your pictures when you get back. Because I don't know how to use the Insta thing. But no, I'm excited about your tour. Have fun, be safe, and do some good magic.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ben.
I'm gonna have to add it to my packing list, get a disposable camera.
For
Nice.
me, yeah.
Yeah, for you,
Do
just
they
for you.
still like the paper, ones made out of like little like a card stock that
I think they do.
Kodak? Do they make those
I,
still?
I
I think
don't.
you're no, I think they're plastic these
Oh,
days.
are they plastic? Oh, wow. I
Yeah,
guess that's how long it's
yeah.
been. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Fellas, thanks for joining me. Friends, if you want to learn more about the International Brotherhood of Magicians, all you have to do is check out magician.org. That is magician, magician.org, where you can learn all about the world's largest magic organization with rings. That would also mean clubs with rings in 88 countries. You can learn all about the I.B.M. and their mission to further the art of magic and to basically gather together all the folks who love magic, whether you are a professional magician, a hobbyist, a collector, everybody is welcome at the I.B.M. And if you want to learn more about the I.B.M. convention, which is being held in Houston, Texas this year in July, just a few weeks away, just check out IBMconvention.com. That's IBMconvention.com. On behalf of Ben Young and Scott Cantrell, my name is Jason Michaels. We have had a whole lot of fun sharing this time with you. We will see you guys next time. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.